And we are live. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of Respect the Craft. This is episode number 319, and I'm joined here by fellow broadcaster. We got PEAPOD in the building. What's going on, brother? Good evening.
Great. Thank you so much for having me on. It's already been a pleasure just talking to you. Just like as we were getting set up, it feels good. It feels good to be with like another broadcaster and like holding yourself into like that like higher standard for yourself. Like I'm not saying that other people. I don't want to bury anybody else. Like 5 seconds into the show, already just bury things. Screw these guys. No, it feels really good to be on here and be a part of this. It's wonderful. You're doing a lot of great work, and I really appreciate you taking the time out talking with me.
No, definitely much appreciated, man. And thank you again for joining us here. As we have a lot to discuss, we're about to go into this stacked card. I'm looking at just the graphics here, and this is an event, man. Like I'm just looking at the graphics here, and it's like, yeah, this is one where I wish I could make it out. Like this is one where it's like, which I if I'm not mistaken, yeah, I'm also booked that week. That's like,
yeah,
I would love to be there because, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be a stacked show. Like this is going to be something where from top to bottom, the Clash Wrestling here with RSP, simply the best. It's going to be something that you're not going to want to miss. I remember when we talked to Ricky on here, if you can't make it like myself, unfortunately, it will be available on a streaming service. I know it's still being the logistics of it all.
It's confirmed because they made the announcement over the weekend. Myself and Pro Wrestling BFF Nick Maniwa will be on the call, and we'll be live starting at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on IWTV.
Okay, so it is going to be on IWTV. Okay,
correct.
Perfect. There you go. And that announcement was made with these lovely graphics right here. Look at that. Look at
it's so weird to me that I get my own graphic. Like I'm just the commentator. Like I'm not bumping. I'm not a manager. I'm not doing anything. I get my own graphic, very nicely done, and I'm just like, okay, I'll mark out just a little bit. I know it's like bad or it's like taboo to like mark out for stuff. Well, I'm marking out because
you know what's funny? I had this conversation over the weekend with someone because of as of late I'm seeing that a lot more. Like I've on myself been on a graphic now because of commentary, and it's still one of those things that I'm like, that's so cool, but it's also like to see that it just shows how much, again, that respect for the craft of commentary as well is taken. That it's like, no, yeah, you get a graphic because you're a part of the show, you're a part of this, you get to have that. But we're gonna get into all of that in a second as well, because I want to ask you the first question I ask everyone that comes on here, PEAPOD, and that is when you hear that term, the craft, what does that mean to you?
I was expecting this question, and I was still kind of racking my brain about it because like it's all about I feel like it's like the work and the professionalism, wherever you do and whatever you do and the time, the effort you put into something. Like, yeah, it's independent wrestling. Yeah, like nobody has money. We're not WWE, we're not AEW, we're not New Japan, we're not any of the big wigs and everything. We're like in the middle of a parking lot or a VFW, but it's all about that showcasing the best that you can get no matter what the situation is. And that's always been my thing. I mean, I come from a broadcasting background, but I've also come from a background of the idea of never let them see you sweat, because the moment you start freaking out, everybody else will start freaking out. So it's just like things will go awry, things will go wrong, things will be turmoil. Try to keep a level head and just keep going as best you can. And then just holding yourself out there and doing the best you can each time, and learning from your mistakes, from your missteps, from every situation, and just grow and enjoy what you're doing. So I feel like all of that is part of the craft.
Got you. And now I do have to ask that because like we spoke about even off the air a little bit, of having that broadcasting background and doing that for so many years. What was it for you that made you make that transition of, you know what, I want to get into this craft here. I want to get into this insane sport that we love here, the craft that we love here of professional wrestling. What was that for you that made you know what, I want to add my voice to this?
I've always been a purveyor of helping give a platform to others.
Gotcha.
I was a radio personality for 11 years in Northwest Ohio, Toledo to be exact. I did a radio morning show on an alt rock station. So in between Nickelback songs, I would bring in people on my show to like kind of tell me about like more about like what's going on. I even had like local bands do live performances and like
Nice. Nice.
we our signal strength wasn't like the biggest, so instead of trying to go as far out as we could, I turned it inwards. And like there's a lot of things that like Toledo does not even know: the music scene, the art scene. Sometimes it's just as simple as bring on the Girl Scouts in and whatnot. It's not always about who's paying the bills. It's about the just getting the information on a stage. If you have a platform, that's the biggest thing. And I got involved with starting with my home promotion at Ruthless Pro Wrestling, which is based out of Northwest Ohio, Southeast Michigan. It's a deathmatch company, if you're not aware of it. I brought in the promoter, Chris Kohlenberg, onto my radio morning show and hyping up this very first debut show. It's going to be happening in the spring of 2020. Guess what happened? I got to tell you that singing song and dance and everything. Everybody pulls their collar. And I decided, I still covered a lot of things and started covering still music. I was doing podcasting on the side and everything. And then like, I decided that like, I reached a ceiling in my 11 years in corporate radio. I was working with Cumulus Media, the second largest corporate national radio broadcast company. And I reached a ceiling. I wasn't going to go back up farther. They weren't going to give me any more. They took away my radio show, like the radio station, because it flipped formats. And I'm just like, why am I here? And I decided to leave and pursue other marketing world jobs and everything. And I was brought in by the people at Ruthless Pro Wrestling. And they're like, your professionalism, your voice, your pull of sorts that I built, my reputation that I built over in Northwest Ohio. They're like, we would love to have you on, with us. It's a labor of love. It's not a lot of money right at the first, but if you want to be a part of this, do it. I'm like, I like talking. I like pro wrestling. I've always been a fan of pro wrestling since I was a kid. Why not try it out? And I've really learned as I go. And now I've gone through now a little past this past April is 3 years for me. And now I'm doing more with a lot more companies across the Midwest and have more plans in building into 2025, and hopefully I'm going to be traveling more. And it's been great. And then I get to have people like Ricky Shane Page reach out to me personally and go, I really like what you did. I got this going on. You want to come with me and debut in Clash Wrestling? And I've been in talks with Clash Wrestling for a hot minute, and our schedules unfortunately just couldn't line up because I was already booked and I wasn't going to drop a booking, obviously, because that's rude. So everything aligned, and now I get to do this rad show coming up on the 18th, and other shows coming up also that same weekend that I will have some kind of hand with. So it's really exciting. And I've been a fan of RSP since his Cleveland All Pro Wrestling days, when he was wearing like a weird Spawn mask and was with Faith in Nothing. And but I've been a fan of his work and everybody's work that I've been doing, and it's just been a huge time right now. It's really been fun. So it's very exciting.
No, that's awesome to see. So that has been something though, that love for wrestling was always there though. So this wasn't just you know what, I want to get involved in that wrestling thing while you're on radio. This was something where you still had that fandom as well, and then it meshed well.
I just felt like I was gonna just try my hand at it, and if I do well, or it's a fun thing, it'll be something fun to do on the side with the company. And then the more I did it, and the more I want to hone my skills, I'm like, I want to get better. I want to do more, to the point where I legitimately want to do this either for a living or as a semi-regular independent person that can do anything: deathmatch, women's wrestling, hardcore, technical wrestling, international stuff, and doing English commentary that I've kind of dipped my toe in a little bit with my good friend John Bullard, and everything. Like I want to do more because I get so emotionally satisfied for doing this
than
I ever did in radio.
Actually, no, I love to hear that again. When you hear someone that is truly committed to this. I've been lucky to talk to to have a few broadcasters on here, fellow broadcasters, and just hearing their love for this and how much that commitment, like I said when we talking before we got on here, just having that true respect for that and having that commitment to this craft, it is amazing to see, because again, this is something where it is very important to a brand to have that commentary be something where it's at the level that it needs to be, because you can have an amazing match and then when the commentary isn't there, it's like it makes it hard for the viewer at home, you know? So
I
I
agree.
love when I hear those that are very, again, passionate about that and getting that, and that reaction you're getting from doing this. It surely, again, it warms my heart to hear, man. So love
I
to hear it.
appreciate it. And it's, I've always said, and this has kind of been my catchphrase every interview I do. It's just like broadcasting and commentaries like curtains on a house. When they're bad, it's very noticeable. When it's good, it's tying the room together. We are the narrators of the story. We are the reason. We are the connection between what is action and why you should care about these people doing things, whether it's wrestling or hitting each other with very questionable objects. We are the reason and the answer to the question why.
Yep. No, definitely so. Agreed. And again, this is why, ladies and gentlemen, again, enjoy your broadcasting. Enjoy those commentators that are doing that to add to these companies as well. But let's get into it, man. Let's get into the main reason we are here. Let's start going through this stacked card right here. It is going to be with this one right here that RSP gave us a little bit of the teaser. He told us there would be a ladder match. And what a ladder match that was announced, as it's going to be ladders are legal in this one for Simply the Best. You have Zach Thomas in there, Mark Wheeler, Crash Jackson making his way, who I know he's becoming a little bit more of Deathmatch Crash. He's enjoying the violence a little bit. So I can't wait to see what he does in here. You got Shane Saber, Jake Christ, and then Christian. I apologize. The font doesn't let me. Is it Napier or is
it's Napier? It's Christian Napier.
Okay, perfect. So it is an N though. Okay, my apologies. I wanted to make sure. I was like, is it an N? I just so that's perfect right there.
It's not an indie wrestling show if there's not like a scramble. We're just gonna step it up a little bit, make it a little extra spicy with ladders being legal. And there's a lot of like regulars into Clash that are a part of the show. There's bad blood between obviously Christian Napier and Zach Thomas during that 440, gang warfare that's going on right now. Shane Saber and Jake Chris, regulars in Clash. Crash Jackson, who I just got a taste of fairly recently for the very first time live in person. I've seen some of his matches before, but live in person. And when he says he's a whole lot of dude, he is indeed a whole lot of dude. And he's phenomenal. Yeah, he's fantastic. And it's going to be a very exciting, very crazy 6-way ladder match just for the fun. Like there's not a title shot or anything on the line. It's just violence for violence sake. And that's what I love.
No, and you gotta love that. And again, looking at that stack, it's a scramble that just, again, you add that element of now ladders, and then you add a Jake Christ in there, who is no stranger to doing some things that are very crazy in there. Yeah. And again, shout out though to Jake, shout out to Crash. We've had both on this podcast here. Just seeing their work, it's always great to see a lot of young, great talent in there that you guys are going to get to check out at this event right here. This is gonna be one to see, man. And I love me a good scramble. Who doesn't like a good scramble match? But to see it in this format, it's gonna be interesting to see, and to see who walks out victorious. Again, matches like this, yes, no title shot attached, nothing like that. But you never know. Winning matches like this, especially on a stacked event like this, you never know what that could lead to, though. Especially with what's coming next, of what can happen next. Like we said with RSP, this might be the beginning of something very special here. So you never know. You never know.
I mean, RSP has a good eye for a lot of talent. Obviously, you see what is formed in 440 and Blue, everything that's happened even before even the gang warfare, about what's going on. He had a hand, obviously, of creating Converge that happened in Northeast Ohio during SummerSlam weekend when the WWE was in SummerSlam. We did a show that had a feature at least a half a dozen, or excuse me, no, more than that, a dozen talents and companies involved with Converge Wrestling Supercard. I was on the call for that with my good buddy Ron Nemi. That was a lot of fun to call. Honored to be a part of that. And got to see a lot of talent. So like this one is a little bit stepped up, and it shows like a little bit of the heart and the history of like hardcore and deathmatch wrestling that, you know, in certain aspects could have, you know, has gone in different directions. It's something a little bit for everybody, but it's going to be very interesting seeing, you know, now this is officially a RSP Productions, so to speak, with the good people at Clash Wrestling out of Michigan, and seeing what's going on as we review more of these matches.
No, definitely so. But as we continue here, this next one, we go from one insane contest to the next, as it will be a unlucky 13 matchup here, as it will be Otis Kogar going head to head with Alex Cologne. And all I can say is there will be blood. There will be lots of it.
And it's going to be a lot of blood. It's and you know, Alex Cologne, and there's staple guns. That's what the stipulation is with the unlucky 13 is staple guns are going to be involved with this. And this is a very first time ever matchup between these two gentlemen. You know, I think Otis Kogar is extremely underrated. He's very violent. I've called a lot of his matches in Ruthless Pro. I've seen him, what he's done in ICW No Holds Barred and Circle 6 and 7, and you know, of course, obviously in Ruthless Wrestling. You know, it's seeing a lot of the damage and the violence and everything. And the brother wrestles in khakis and like hiking boots. He's a madman.
Yeah, well, again, that family is very twisted. And Alex Cologne, who just recently went to war with one Atticus Kogar, and now he's going here with Otis. And it's a situation of, again, there will be blood. That's all. That's the best way I can explain it, because these two are no stranger to doing what it takes to get that victory. There's a reason, again, Alex Cologne has been called the blood fighter. He will do what it takes in there. And I can't wait to see what's going to go down in this one. Like, this is going to be a true fight. A lot of these, I even said when it came to promoting this card, they're not matches. A lot of these are truly going to be fights.
Yeah, Cologne's a modern mainstay for about, he's been wrestling for about 14 years. So like he has done a lot in this business, not only nationally, but internationally as well. So like seeing Alex Cologne still doing it and doing it very well, and it's very dangerous. I've only called one Cologne match, and it was a triple threat for Unsanctioned Pro. And like, but I know the history, and I've seen what he has done in a lot of places. It's very impressive. I'm very excited for it.
Got you. No, definitely. Again, I'm looking forward to seeing what will happen there. And like I said, that is just, those are two out of the insane card we have to talk about. And we're going to continue here with a match that was just confirmed earlier today. It was thrown out here for that RCW championship. Judge Joe Dredd here, throwing it out there. He's sending that message to RSP, and he wants none other than Turbo Lover here. And what a message. We saw the video package earlier today. Just, this is going to be interesting. This is going to be interesting because I want to say it's one of those situations where I get it. The judge wants some of RSP here, but is he looking past a Turbo Lover? You know, this is a situation where that is a dangerous situation to do something like that in a match like this.
I'm very familiar with Judge Joe Dredd. He is a very regular in this side of the country. When with a lot of the promotions, I've seen him for Flophouse. I've seen him for Ruthless Pro Wrestling. You know, he's only been doing this for about 2 years, but incredible on the microphone. You see those packages, and obviously wherever Judge Joe Dredd goes, his legal representative Stephen Jury goes, and I just saw Judge Dredd. And it, as a part of our deathmatch tournament, King of the Kill 2 just happened a few weeks ago. He's very dangerous. He's on a mission. He wants to be the best. He wants to be known as the best. But I've seen the Turbo Lover in action. I've seen the Turbo Lover defend the Ruthless Championship against someone like Atticus Kogar. And the Turbo Lover is no nonsense, old school technical wrestling. It's literally boots and tights, and that's it. Really just shorts. That's it. No knee pads, no arm pads, just putting you on holds and making you hurt. And going past and looking past the Turbo Lover is a mistake. I think the Turbo Lover is dangerous in his own. This should be a very interesting contest.
No, like I said, doing that in a match like this, trying to look past him, not a good thing here for Judge Joe Dredd. But again, Judge has done some battles. He's in those 2-year span, has done a lot of things, has gone to wars with some of the best when it comes, especially that deathmatch scene. We shall see. We shall see where this leads him, and could we possibly see a new champion here? Who knows? But from those battles, we continue here with this next one, as it will be a doorway to heaven match. As much as it's to heaven, I feel like we're going to hell with this one, as we're going all Havoc, as it will be Jessica Havoc going head to head with Big Al here, representing 440. Talk us about this one, Peapod.
Alice Crowley, to me, is one of the strongest women wrestlers out there and one of the toughest women's wrestlers out there. I've openly said this. I would call it now within 3 years she signed to a major company. I think Alice Crowley has all the tools, all the skills, the only woman ever in 440, and she can go toe to toe with all those psychopaths on 440 Yellow, and she has gone to battle with a lot of those people. And I've seen her take apart men, women. It doesn't matter what you identify yourself as. Alice Crowley knows violence, knows pain and torture. But Jessica Havoc is a legend. 2 decades in the business. TNA, Neo Pro, Wrestling Revolver, Shimmer, done it all. Singles, tag, has done it all. Very tough individual herself. I think Alice Crowley has never seen a fight she's never been a part of. Like that didn't make sense. But the point is, Alice Crowley likes to fight. Jessica Havoc knows violence and chaos. Add doors into it, especially Michigan, which doors just seem to be that much tougher. And I've seen it firsthand. It's going to be a lot of pain and suffering.
No, definitely so. And I get what you meant, though. And definitely, she is someone that's not going to step down from any fight here at a match like this with the likes of Havoc, who just won some AAA gold. To tell you that it's like she's coming back with momentum here. She's going in this, has been on a tear as of late in the Wrestling Revolver as well. This is going to be that fight that it's like, again, Alice is looking to prove why she is the only female to be a part of 440, be it the blue, be it the yellow, or even the original green. Like this is going to be a fight. This is going to be a fight. You add doors to the mix. Alone, this is a true fight right here. And now you add those doors. Oh man, this is going to be one to watch. This could be right here, that show stealer, if you will, Peapod. Like this is going to be interesting. But as we continue here, we have some tag team action, which I kind of figured this would be the match. I did not think this was going to be the tables match that RSP teased on the podcast, as it will be PME going head to head with Lyco's Gym. And it's still insane to me to see a graphic that features Lyco's Gym making their way to the States. And then you're adding the element now of a tag team tables match. Lyco's Gym, these two have done so many things to each other. And they are as close as brothers, as close as just anyone. Imagine what they're going to do to PME on October the 18th.
I was pleasantly surprised to see that graphic. And I am a fan of Lycos Gym. I'm a fan of Kid Lycos, the first one. And all of the way back of a lot of his stuff he did in Progress and TNT. A lot of that places, obviously I loved the tag team of CCK, Calamari Catch Kings. and unfortunately the dissolution of that, and then Kid Lycos and his battles and everything, losing the mask just recently, and then joining up, obviously having somebody in his corner as Kid Lycos too, continuing that the look and the feel of two high flyers but very hard hitting individuals. But I'm very interested in Philly C and Marino T, PME. My partner Nick Manuel knows a lot more about PME than I do, but I am doing my research and doing the best I can so I can learn a little bit more and what to expect. Very confident individuals, very cocky individuals, but have done some very good stuff. I mean, currently on their fourth run in AIW for the tag titles, and AIW is a Cleveland staple of Ohio wrestling and Midwest wrestling in general for a good, I want to say at least a decade, if not more. I'm very interested in these two individual styles, and then we got tables, because why not? Because this is a hardcore show, and Ricky Shane Page is fronting the bill. Why not? Let's do it. I love it.
No, again, it is going to be something where these two teams, at one point, they might forget that the tables are a part of this match, because I've gotten to do a little research on PME, just because I wanted to see a lot of their stuff and seeing what they are. They have their future is bright, man. They're going to be they're going to be on a tear, and a win here over a team like Kid Lycos and Kid Lycos 2 will be interesting to see. And again, like we said, what Lycos Gym have done to each other, what Kid Lycos had to go through with Chris Brooks. It's a situation of bloodshed will be no stranger to these two. So Absolutely. We shall see what happens with this tag team match. And again, you guys, if you haven't already, make sure you get your tickets, or again, cash it on IWTV, because it's going to be insane. And we can stop there. We can be like, you know what? There's your card, and we can go home from there. We still have 2 more matches to discuss here, as this one is going to be wild, as it will be the legend himself, the notorious 187 Homicide. My Theo is going to be there taking on Vincent Nothing, and holy hell, what a fight this one is going to be. And again, there's no stipulation attached to this one. This is your straight up, you have two guys just going at it, and I feel like this might be the most violent one of them all.
It's freaking Homicide. Like, can we just get a moment? Can we just have it's freaking Homicide. I immediately saw that match, and I'm like, I can't. I'm calling a huge hardcore show. I've been reached out personally by someone who I enjoy as a worker and I respect as a man. And then these huge cards. I'm debuting a brand new show, and then I'm going to see Kid Lycos and Lycos Gym, and I'm going to see all these other great talents and getting my foot in, increasing my career. And then I get Homicide on top of that with a bad MFer. I'm not going to curse on this show. I mean, I can, but I'm not gonna. With Vincent Nothing, the man that has gone and done MMA, took a break from pro wrestling to just seriously just punch dudes in the face. No chops, no flips, no everything. It's just you and another dude in a cage, and that's it. That's how dangerous Vincent Nothing is. But Homicide's going to stab somebody. Homicide, we know the history of Homicide and who he's run with and those battles. Like, can we talk about the bloodshed that he's had in Ring of Honor with Steve Corino for all my old school fans of independent wrestling from like the mid 2000s? Like, can we talk about that?
He still hates Corino. I just had
still hates Corino. Both of them.
Not even a month ago, for his just 30-year anniversary, we had Homicide on here, and we talk about that history with the Corinos. Who I've been lucky. I was a fan getting to watch him versus Steve. Now again, part of the business, getting to see him wrestle Colby has been insane just to see that. But no, this is gonna be, man. Have fun with this one. Like we talked about off the air, have fun calling this one. I've been lucky to get to call now 2 Homicide matches, and every time it's one of those where I'm just like, I have to be reminded, hey, you're on commentary. It's like,
I'm gonna if you hear my voice crack when I shout out Cop Killer, you'll understand why.
Like it is. Oh man, I remember I've had to apologize both times when I'm on commentary for a homicide match, just because in Spanish I will say something that I probably shouldn't say because again it's we for a PG audience. You know what I mean? That's one of those of just like fuck. It's homicide. It is.
I know,
especially for those that again that grew up in the area that I'm growing up in, to see what he continues to do. And to do that at this level still, it is insane and always an honor. But like I said, this one, just look at it. It is homicide versus Vincent Nothing. This is your straight up wrestling match. And like I said, might still be somehow the most violent match on the card.
I can't wait.
But again, this is what RSP does. This is what Clash Wrestling has done. They have put together an insane show. And like I said, we could have ended it there. And then we still have one more confirmed match to talk about here. As that pick your poison style between one RSP and one Atticus goes. And it was confirmed the choice for RSP here. And we add the element of death from above, as it will be RSP going head to head with the atrocity himself, Cruel.
I've seen Cruel in action. That man is not human. Like, I literally just saw him lit on fire and is fine. It's inhuman. And people forget, like, he's the current IWTV World Heavyweight Champion. Like, that title's not on the line. Like, it doesn't matter what is on the line. It doesn't matter who's on the opposite side of Cruel. It's just a danger for anybody. Yeah, Ricky Shane Page has 20 years experience, has done multiple tournaments of death, and stuff for IWA Mid-South, cut his teeth there. It knows a lot about the industry. Has all these connections and everything, but it's Cruel. A man, a myth, a legend, a beast, whatever adjectives you want to describe Cruel, he is that and so much more. Like, it's just insane that Atticus took someone that he has faced a couple of times in person to take on Ricky Shane Page in the Monster Cruel, the atrocity Cruel.
Can you blame him though? Like, if you really hate someone, you know who I'm gonna put against? Yeah, let's bring in Cruel. Like, I feel like that's a good, like, you know what? This is the ace up my sleeve here. We're gonna use Cruel. And the thing is, Ricky Shane Page, when I spoke to him, he had just faced Cruel. He was a part of a 4-way recently at the Wrestling Revolver, going head to head with Cruel, Crash Jackson, and
Atticus.
And I guess Atticus is like, you know what? Yeah, we're gonna make him do it again.
Yeah, you're gonna face him again. You're gonna do it, and we still don't know. It hasn't been confirmed. The other side of the coin, what Ricky Shane Page has chosen for Atticus. We may not even know until maybe day of. We may know tomorrow. I don't know. I'm going to find out the same time as you, which makes my job just slightly harder, because then I have to now do my research in 1 to 13 days.
Yeah. We with someone like RSP, you never know. You might have to find out day of. That's just, let's see whose music starts to play. You never know.
All right, let's go. I'll pull up Google while I'm doing commentary. Won't be the first time, won't be the last.
But again, it is going to be a sight to see what happens there. Because again, I know RSP is not going to be like, oh, okay, cool, you brought Cruel. Time to go through the Rolodex of just the insanity that could possibly happen. Because he said,
just look the fingers and like there's one of those old school like note cards of like people's numbers. It pulls it out and go, all right, yeah, see if he's available.
Hey, you never know. Again, on a show that now like we go through has Jake Christ on there, Crash Jackson on there, Alex Collode on there, Homicide on there. It's like you got Light Goes Jim. You never know who could walk through those doors. This is why, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't already, get your tickets. Get your tickets right now. The link will be in the description down below for clashwrestling.net because you're going to want to get those tickets. If you can't make it in person, watch the stream because trust me, this is going to be an insane show. Like this is going to be top to bottom, just wild.
And if hardcore's not your thing and you want to check out Clash Wrestling, they got a show right at the day after on the 19th. It's called Clash from the Crypt. There's also going to be a trunk or treat beforehand for the kiddos. It's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of Halloween themed, a lot of masked characters, cast of characters for Clash. So go check that out. More information at clashwrestling.net. And of course, Ricky also announced that his show, that his promotion, Ruthless Wrestling, returns to Avon, Ohio that Sunday. And more information on Ricky's social media, on Ruthless Wrestling's social media as well. It's going to be a huge weekend for wrestling, no matter what the type of wrestling you like. Especially from the Midwest. Midwest, best West, frankly, in my opinion. This is where wrestling grows, and people need to keep an eye on more and more each year.
Oh, definitely. Again, it is something to see. Like he said right there, you have a stacked weekend of amazing wrestling all over, and it's something I love to see, man. Always support independent wrestling, support wrestling, man. See,
wrestling in general
growing, just continuing to do their thing. That weekend definitely is going to be a stacked one. It's going to be a stacked one. But I want to get a little bit more into talking about you here, man. I want to get into now. We talked about making that decision to get into it, but how's it been finding your voice? Which I can imagine, though, with the years of radio, that wasn't something that was possibly the hardest, but I can also imagine finding your voice for this, though, is still a challenge because it's something of for radio. I can imagine you have that style, you have what you wanted to do for the viewers that are watching. They're going between those songs like, well, here's your morning here. And then we go into now wrestling, especially when you're calling a death match. How is it finding that style for you? How was that?
Well, getting my first taste into wrestling commentary and doing death matches is a whirlwind. You know, I've always, I have that broadcasting style, but I tell people I'm learning as I go. My only step ahead is I know how to hold a microphone and speak into it. That's about it, but I know how to, work my voice and prep myself and how to present myself. Cause I always try to do that presentation of that like sportsman style. I always like some of the people that I'm personally influenced by is like Ian Riccaboni of Ring of Honor. Cause I love the combination of just like professionalism, but dry humor, but like knows what he's doing, but he can still have fun. And I love that combination. Obviously, doing it with like Nick Manuwa, who I respect as a broadcaster and admire as a broadcaster, but like gotten to know him. I've called only one show with him beforehand. It was my first taste outside of my home promotion of Ruthless Pro. So, and that was kind of like the spark of like, maybe I can do more of this. And now I do a handful of shows for like people like Flophouse Wrestling and Divine Women's Wrestling and Fantastic League of Wrestling, a family-friendly promotion out of Indiana. I'm doing some work, some post-production work for a couple of companies on the other side of the country, or I've done stuff on the East Coast. I'm currently doing a project for another company out of the Midwest as well, doing some post-production work so they can get themselves on IWTV. So their back catalog as commentary as well. I'm getting these opportunities that people are reaching out to me directly about work, and I'm trying to find my place in everything. I've gotten some training from Walker Stewart from New Japan Pro Wrestling. He's offered like basically one-on-one classes. So like, he'll speak with you for like 2 to 3 hours. He'll break down your commentary reel or like a recent show or a match and kind of help you out with everything. And his work recently I did earlier in the summer, and I'm about to do another one with him because I want to follow up on more non-deathmatch related calls. And working on all of that is it's really just trying to hone my skill and style so I can when you see me on a card or you hear me introduce the show, you know exactly what you're looking for. You know who I am and what's going on. You know, I'm not trying to necessarily be a character, because obviously at the end of the day, it's not about me. It's about what's happening in the ring.
Yep.
But with wrestling, everybody is a character. You get that taste of like, you can be a different, a caricature of yourself, a bigger, bolder, different side of you. But for me, I've always lived in that world because I was a broadcaster in radio. So you can still develop a kind of a character and then bring it in to, you know, your show to give your style. Same goes for wrestling, is like, figure out what you want to do without taking away from everybody else, and then still make it presentable and easier and accessible to everybody else.
Gotcha. And no, definitely that is why I was seeing how that process for you, because especially going into deathmatch off the rip, it's like, well, then this is definitely going to be a jump from radio broadcasting to now this. But no, definitely, man, and that is the biggest thing that I feel like people need to also understand when it comes to adding that narration, is making sure the focal point is always going to be those in the ring. Making sure that is the highlight, because again, this is adding that narration, this is adding the backtrack to the craft here, but it's also making sure you are highlighting that, you're making sure that you're feeding people in that are watching at home why this is happening, why this is important to keep an eye out for what they are doing, because sometimes, okay, yeah, you need to fill that in, you need to do this, and again, it is an important art form that those that do it, always, I commend those that are part of this side here, and I value having amazing broadcasters in this business that have that respect for the craft, man. So again, I commend you for doing your thing.
It's not like anybody who thinks that they can pick up a microphone and try to call a wrestling match, it's extremely difficult. You know, it's not easy. It's more than just knowing move names or anything. It's just like the emotion and try to get people excited, because like you're watching this in real time, but then also reacting, but also covering it as well. Like during my radio career, I never really had a sports experience. I've never really been a sports fan. You know, I only know enough about sports for a pop culture sense. I don't know about sports. I know wrestling though. I know characters. I know background. I can give you the reasons why these people have been, you know, facing off each other. That's why it's like, it's an honor for me to do something like this with Clash Wrestling and Ricky Shane Page. And it's very exciting to bring into this aura and this era of hardcore wrestling and death matches, and you know, the idea of death matches in an analytical sense is completely stupid. Let's be honest, like it's really ridiculous. However, I feel like death matches are just is something primal and very exciting. And like I even tell people, like if you watch like action films or horror films or things like that, and you don't mind that blood and gore, go see a live death match, because the energy is completely different, and it's undescribable how a live death match is. It's something that you'll get hooked to after seeing one live.
Definitely. It is. It's one of those where when I had RSP on, it was something that at first it definitely was different to see, but as I continued to see it, I became more of, when it makes sense, I am a fan of it. When it's one of those where it's like, when that story element is added to it, when you have that, it's like, there's a reason why this is happening, then it's perfect to me, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
But again, like we've mentioned, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't already, make sure you get those tickets. Make sure you are following all things The Clash as well, so you can be there. Follow RSP, stay up to date with all the announcements that are coming up, because again, there's still that Atticus match. What will happen? Who will RSP choose? But again, also, what else could possibly happen? Because there's always going to be some tricks up RSP's sleeve there. You never know what could happen. But we also want to remind everyone, if you haven't already, make sure you're following PEAPOD on his social media right there, so you can stay up to date with his career, because a lot of big things coming up, man, especially with that passion you have for commentary. It's going to go far, man. It's going to go far. So I thank you so much for joining us here and for again sharing that love for this broadcasting thing, man. For sharing that love for the booth and having that love for it. We definitely have to do this again, man, and definitely do another preview when
time
the
and
show
place.
coming up, man.
Absolutely would love to be back again and just talk more about just wrestling commentary and wrestling in general. Yeah. PEAPOD calls the number 4 and the letter U on all social medias. Follow me and follow all the places I'm going to be at. And of course, obviously, Clash, Ricochet Page, Simply the Best coming up next Saturday. It's going to be great.
Yeah. But before I let you go, I do have to ask you one last thing here.
Mhm.
The name. where did the name PEAPOD come from? Before I let you go, I have to ask you.
So I hate to disappoint people, but it's like the most quickly boring story. So I am 38 years old. So back in high school, so that was about in the my senior year of high school, which is about around mid 2000s. Senior year of high school, I had a buddy who said, "I'm going to start calling you PEAPOD from now on," and I go, "Why?" And he goes, "Because it's the first word that that popped in my head when I met you." And I'm like, "Great." Senior year of high school, it's called PEAPOD. When I got into college and I got into college radio, I loved the idea of having a DJ name. So just like that anonymity and everything. So I'm just like, can I call myself PEAPOD? And everybody's like, sure. And all my friends call me PEAPOD, everything. Graduated college. And then when I joined radio and I was able to have my own show, I asked, can I have a radio name? Can I call myself PEAPOD? All my friends already call it. Can I do it? And they're like, absolutely. I was PEAPOD throughout my radio career. And then I got into wrestling and I'm like, can I call myself PEAPOD? Or everybody already does it anyway. So they're like, sure. So the only people that don't call me PEAPOD is my wife. So, that's what's going on. And even though I call her Mrs. PEAPOD when I introduce her sometimes to people, that's what it is. So as a random name that just kind of stuck, and it's something interesting and unique, and there it is.
Got you. No, that works. And again, it's something where, especially in the realm of wrestling, it clicks to have the name be something else, and for it to be the most random. Well, we're just gonna call you PEAPOD now, and there you go. So
there it is.
Thank you again so much for joining us here. To everyone watching, please again go support the Clash, go support Ricochet Page, and go support them with that Stag show. PEAPOD would definitely talk to you again soon, brother. And everyone watching, as always, don't forget to be wise, be genuine, be real, be better people, respect the craft. We'll see you guys on the next one. Peace, everybody.